What's going on, DFS Army? Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake here. Gotta talk about a NBA two-game slate, and today I'm gonna focus mainly on FanDuel. Got a lot of DFS Army members that have won tickets to this contest. $4, $1 million NBA clutch shot with 200K up top. So I'm gonna focus today's first look video on that in particular and not talk about DraftKings. I will talk about DraftKings. I'll do a live Twitch show probably closer to 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to jump on there and ask questions, as the games both start at 9 p.m. tonight. So got a late start, only 2-gamer, but that doesn't mean we can't find some edge and win some money here. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Let me know you want to keep me doing these videos. Really pushing for 1,000, just almost hit the 800 mark. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button, really appreciate it. But with that, let's dive in and see what we got today. All right. Like I said, this video, I'm going to focus on the 1 million NBA clutch shot with 200K up top. 2-gamer, man. I'm not going to go game by game. I'm going to go position by position. I'm going to talk about just maybe game theory on this, kind of how I attack these 2-gamers a little bit, and go that approach, because I don't think you need to go game by game on a 2-gamer. But we will say OKC at Denver. Denver's favored by 10, over under of a 220.5, and the Pelicans at Utah. Utah favored by 6 with a 217.5. They both start at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is fantastic. We don't have to wait on, any news. We should get all this information right up front. The injury news that we do have is Al Horford is still out on personal reasons. So again, Isaiah Roby's going to get a ton more run here. Baisley, all those guys get a little bit of uptick. The one that's kind of screwing things up a little bit is Lonzo Ball is questionable, and he says he plans to play. And if that happens, Bledsoe and Alexander Walker, it just kind of screws that whole situation up. And again, on a 2-gamer, you kind of want more clarity in things, and I don't think we're going to get it in the backcourt for the Pelicans. Michael Porter Jr. is still out, so we'll still see Barton starting. And then, we can look at, guys off the bench. Maybe Green's probably going to get a few more run. Jermichael Green's probably going to get more run off the bench like usual. So guy we can look at maybe. And then Joe Ingles is questionable. This is a big one as well. If he's still out, man, Clarkson's been on a tear off the bench. And Bogdanovich, again, guys they'll benefit from that. But Clarkson's been just on a freaking tear. And up against Pelicans, I love it. So let's just dive into this again. We're going to just talk about FanDuel only in this first look and focus on this 2-gamer. You're going to have to get different. Let me start that. First and foremost, if you want to try to win 200K up top by yourself, if you're not just trying to cash this, if you're trying to win it, don't be afraid to leave whatever salary on the table. Because if you don't, and the nut lineup is, has all the salary, you're going to be chopping it up with everybody. And if that's the approach you want to take, great, do that. But if you want to force yourself, you can force yourself to leave money on the table. But just don't be afraid to leave money on the table in a 2-gamer. There's no amount of money that I'm scared to leave it on this, because if some of the studs fail and some of the cheap guys go off, you can get there. Anything can happen in these things. The other thing I'll preface here is when you're building these, I tend to go lock button on 2 to 4 guys. If I'm going to try to hit the nuts, I'm going to try to say, okay, well, these 2 to 4 guys should be in the nuts. I'm just going to go all in. If I'm trying to, win this thing solo, I need as many chances I can get in the 150 to find that solo hit. So I do like the lock button a couple guys in here. And maybe we only feel comfortable with 2. Maybe we feel comfortable with 4. But those are a few things you have to consider when building lineups for a tournament specific to this, where, it's extremely top heavy. It's 20% top, I guess, but again, you're more than likely it's going to be chopped a bunch of ways, but you hope that you can find a way to find the nuts without being chopped. We're going to go position by position here. Again, not going to go game by game, and just kind of talk about things a little bit here and how how things can go. Man, I don't know if you watched that Denver game, the last Denver game with Jamal Murray. He started out on fire. The dude had like 36 fantasy points in the first half and then finished at 45. That's pretty much on par with how Jamal Murray does things. But again, if you watch those bubble games, Utah and Denver were going at each other. So 7,800 for him going against OKC. You know, he's got that upside. He does have a sore elbow. I know he's been, if you watched him in those games and he's talked about it, he has a sore elbow. You'll see him grabbing that thing and going up in court, which makes me a little bit nervous, you know, being the most expensive guy here. But, you know, I mean, he's got 40-plus point upside. He's got to be in your pool. Same thing with Mike Conley going up against the Pelicans at 7,600. He's been pretty consistent the last 4 games, 31, 41, 31, 42, 33. You know, I think at that price, I probably prefer the consistency of Conley, but Murray has the upside for 200 more. So take that into consideration. And then I talked about this here with the Pelicans backcourt. If Lonzo Ball plays, it screws everything up because the usage rate on Bledsoe is going to go down, but they're fair price, like 5,500 for each of them here at point guard. I think you could play them together even if Ball's going to, because Ball's a guy that's going to get you all the peripherals. He's going to get you the steals, the blocks, the rebounds, the assists. He does a little bit of everything. Bledsoe's kind of like a light version of that, but not as good. So if Ball plays, I prefer him over Bledsoe, but you have to consider them both at price on a 2-gamer. You can't just poo-poo them and move on. George Hill at 4,900. Again, I would rather go up to the Pelicans guys. As you can see, even the games where Horford was out, 14, 21, 23, 23. He just doesn't really have the ceiling here. You know, we did see, you know, I know against Denver, you know, I mean, you got to take a chance at him, and he's got to be in your player pool in 150, but I still prefer the Pelicans, even if Ball's back. Just those guys could just put up a chance at putting up 40, whereas Hill, I worry about a little bit. And then coming down to the scrap heap here, I wouldn't play any of these guys, honestly. You know, if we're going to look at taking some chances. Campazzo's played a little bit, put up 8 fantasy points in 11 minutes, 15 and 14 minutes against New York. So, you know, Denver is favored by 10, and if you're going to take the angle, maybe they blow them out, you know, OKC out, then maybe you could look at a Campazzo. I'm just looking for guys that maybe, you know, if he gets 20 minutes and can get you 20, 22 fantasy points, maybe he can be in the nut lineup that way. If these other guys fail, that is a consideration to take there. Monte Morris definitely play at 4,800. Same kind of deal. He'll see minutes regardless. But he's very similar to Hill, you know, 11, 24, 21, 23, 26 fantasy points. So never a big ceiling, but I think he would get a little bit more run. You know, he's in the rotation as it is. But again, the mop-up duty would be down here at Composite. So if you're taking a chance on just a complete dart throw, it would be him in this tournament. And then, again, I would put all these guys in your pool here. None of these guys are lock button plays for me. I think point guard is a position, just looking at it, that I'm going to have a pretty big pool in my 150 to start with. You know, things can change throughout the day. You know, if Ball did sit, it does help going a lot heavier on Bledsoe for sure. But we'll have to see. He says he's going to play. At the shooting, so let me hear. I'm just going to throw a couple guys in as we go. Just probably my top guys I like. And then we'll see where it lands on this build, because I think it's important to kind of build as you go through things. So I'll throw Conley in this lineup. And then I'm going to throw Bledsoe in here just to kind of move things along. Shooting guard position, SGA 8,600 on FanDuel. Donovan Mitchell, 8,200. Clarkson, 6,300. Nickeil Alexander, again, 4,900. Again, I don't know how much Alexander Walker's going to play if Ball plays. I think Bledsoe and Ball will probably play a ton, and Walker's going to be the odd man out here. So I know last game they started Bledsoe and Alexander Walker together. So, but I think if Ball comes back, Ball's going to start. Alexander Walker's going to come off the bench. Still think he's going to see minutes. I mean, I'm still going to be in my pool, but you got to take that into consideration. Gary Harris at 4,600. Diallo at 4,500. PJ Dozier does nothing with Harris back, so I don't like that. And not, you know, Thornwell on none of these guys put in your pool. I think you'd stop at probably Diallo at 4,500, and there's no big massive upside. Yeah, 23 minutes against Brooklyn, he put up 46. He's got to be in your pool, but don't expect massive games like that. Again, if it's one of those situations where Denver puts a beating on him and he gets some extra run in the back, then he's going to be low owned in a guy that could get there. But again, you're talking 150, hoping he gets more run. He's a freak athlete. And this is just kind of like one of those low owned plays where most people would be on Gary Harris at 4,600. Only 17 fantasy points in 24 games. Or I'm sorry, 24 minutes. But again, 27, 28. He does have the ability to pay off this salary. But I think your first guy you're throwing in here, if Ingles is out, is Jordan Clarkson. And for me, this is almost a lock button play. The first one I would think about at the shooting guard position, because yes, we have Alexander Walker 8,600 and Mitchell 8,200, but I think they're priced more towards their ceilings. And I think Clarkson, there's more meat left on the bone where I can get there. 36, 28, 38, 20, 38. If he puts you up anything over 30, he's probably sitting in the optimal lineup. So again, matchup against the Pelicans. Going to be coming off the bench, which I like. Again, priced up a little bit, but again, I out of all these guys, he has that 40-point upside with a price point that can get me there. If Mitchell gets me 40 points at 8,200, you're not too excited about it. But if you're looking at, the points per dollar, Clarkson's been at a 1.11 fantasy points per minute for the season. Playing about 25 minutes a game. So you have to love, that where Donovan Mitchell's only been at a 1.06 fantasy points per minute, but he is playing, 33 minutes or more minutes. But, if we look at Clarkson, that's one of the higher fantasy points per minute out of the shooting guard position for the year. And honestly, SGA's at a 1.14 fantasy points per minute, but you always worry about being 10-point dogs. We've seen the floor with SGA, but we've seen the ceiling, But Chicago, we put at 56. Then we got an 18 against the Lakers, 31 against the Spurs. Then, Brooklyn, 55, 47. So I prefer SGA over Mitchell if I was picking the one. And if I was going to fade one, it would definitely be Mitchell. And I would just go Clarkson here for the savings. But actually, Diallo, just looking at his minutes a little bit, the thing is he has to get you 20. You have to think that he's going to play some blowout and get you there. But he's a 1.12 fantasy points per minute through the season. And you got to like that for a guy that, we're looking for a low and play that might be able to get you there. He could be there, but he's got to get the minutes. Like if he's only going to play like 13 minutes, he ain't going to get there. If he gets you 20, 21, 23, he has shot at 40-point upside. But it cannot be a competitive game. It's got to be a game where he's getting a lot of the mop-up duty. So take that into consideration. So again, Clarkson's my favorite guy here. Again, I would go up to either SGA or I would come down to a Gary Harris or a Walker. But again, Walker really depends on what's going on with Ball. I'm going to throw Gary Harris into this lineup just because we know that the Joker's on here and I want to save some money and see what money we do have. But Clarkson so far would be my lock button play. On the small forward, Brandon Ingram, 8,400. 1.16 fantasy points per minute, playing mid-30s minutes, going up against Utah here. They need a scoring. If Lonzo Ball's back, it's not like Ball takes a ton of usage away from him, but them being fully healthy, Ingram is the number one guy in that team for scoring and everything else. He's trying to be great. He's the first guy I would plug into the small forward position. He's just projected way higher than all these guys. Will Barton against OKC, you can consider them. Dort is a decent play, with no Horford. But I think, like I told you, Bogdanovich at 5K. Now, he's just a straight shooter, but he's going to get all those Ingles shots. And at 5K, as you can see, 21, 20, 24. Hasn't smashed because, again, all he does is score. 17 points, only 3 rebounds, 3 assists. 17 points, 3 rebounds, and assist. So at 5K, you're hoping for 25 or more. So maybe this is a good pivot off of him. If you're looking to win that $200,000, because he's going to be extremely popular. It's probably going to be your 3 popular guys are going to be Ingram, Barton, and Bogdanovich. So maybe take a chance at Dort, for lower, and hopefully he can get you some blocks and steals and outscore Bogdanovich just at lower ownership. Josh Hart, he's going to be coming off the bench at 4,700, but if Ball plays, it screws it up as well. And if he has to play alongside of Alexander Walker, it really screws him up because Alexander Walker is going to suck up all his usage, and Hart's not going to get there. So 4,700, I struggle with that as well if Ball comes back. Now, if Ball is out and Alexander Walker and Bledsoe start together, then I like Josh Hart because he's the sixth man off the bench here where he could get you some scoring. And Josh Hart's not like a massive fantasy point per minute guy. He's 0.75 fantasy points per minute. The crazy thing is Bogdanovich is only a 0.65 fantasy points per minute for the season. So it's not a guy we can get extremely excited about, when Dort actually has a higher fantasy point per minute. And we should see similar minutes to Bogdanovich. So he's actually at a 0.77 for the season. And that probably upticks a little bit if I did take Horford off the court and move some things around. That's just taking consideration all of his minutes. But again, things we can look at. Ingram is the first guy I'd throw in here. And none of these guys interest me at all down here in the small forward position. Maybe Kendrick Williams, if it got out of control, you can look at. I just can't, Josh Reddick. JJ Redick, maybe a guy you can consider. Again, coming off that bench, he can get hot, but again, somebody that, he's the lowest fantasy point per minute player. Hasn't been shooting great at all. He's been really ice cold. But 18, 16, 24, 18, on a 2-game slate at 4,200, he can make things work and open things up. So you got to consider him in your pool. But in this build here, I'm going to throw in Dort. Just because he's going to be a little bit low owned. I think Bogdanovich is going to be the chalk version of it, but just to be a little bit different, we'll throw him in there. Let's move over to power forward. Zion. Now, again, let me go back to small forward real quick. If I was going to lock button one guy in, it would be Ingram. The one worry is if it got out of control for whatever reason, Ingram probably wouldn't hit his ceiling. So I really, the only lock button for me so far is Clarkson, and that's why I'm kind of talking through this as we go through each position, because there might only be like 2 guys I want to lock this so far. So right now it's just the one. It's Clarkson for me. Things could change. Again, it's only around noon right now. This game doesn't start until 9 p.m. So right now it's just Clarkson. Zion Williamson, 7,800 is going to be chalk city here at power forward because let's be real. This is a freaking dumpster fire, man. When your next highest priced guy on FanDuel is Royce O'Neal at 5,500, no. Now, I think your chalk plays right here. I'm just going to throw them in. I think you're going to have Zion Williamson. I think you're going to have Isaiah Roby because no Horford. Roby is going to be extremely chalky because he should start. He should see, 25 to 30 minutes. Put up 23 and 25 in these 2 games at 4,500. This is a lock play for me because even if he gets blown out, even if they get blown out, he's still going to be out there. So this is your second lock button play for me is Isaiah Roby. He is a 0.89 fantasy points per minute when he's on the court. And again, if we can predict him even close to 30, he's going to smash this tag. It's just a super value. I think pivots around that are probably cheaper or guys you can pair with him. Maybe we don't think the Pelicans in Utah, there's only a 6-point spread, but maybe you don't want to play Ingram and Zion together. You want to come down here and you want to go maybe a JaMychal Green. We talked about that a little bit with Michael Porter Jr. out, and he's got some decent games where he gets decent minutes. 15, 24, 16, 24. You'll take 24 all day long at JaMychal Green here. And again, he's going to get probably around 22 to 24 minutes. He's actually a higher fantasy point per minute than Roby at 0.96 for the season. So you get guys that are around fantasy point per minute. Now Zion's a 1.14. He's a lot higher, but again, you're paying for him. And the reason I throw these 2 guys in here, if I'm going to go up to Ingram, I'm looking at how can I get the Joker in because the Joker's been on a whole new level. But staying at power forward, there's lots of ways to go here. Royce O'Neal tends to one of those guys that gets everything done. He does block, steals, assists, never puts up massive points, but he does, a 5 category guy when it comes to stats. And he does have big upside. You know, he plays big minutes, 20, 23, but he's got 16, 17. There's a 47 against Milwaukee, 23 against New York. So there's upside with him. You want him. Darius Bazley, again, 5,200 up against Denver. They probably need him. He's another guy that has some upside, but hasn't shown it recently. 20, 11, 24, 19, 14. I prefer Roby all day long for price, even for that $700 discount. Roby's just way more aggressive, and maybe that's what's hurting Bazley, because Horford has been out for a couple games there. So we could see a lot of ownership on Bazley, though. Like, you know, he's going to see the minutes. I think if Bazley is going to be higher owned than Royce O'Neal, I'll take a shot on Royce O'Neal. But again, for cheap, I would rather just come down here to Roby or Green. Another guy you could take a look at down here for cheap. Nobody that's super exciting. Niang, a little bit, 3,600. If Ingles is out, he sees a few minutes. 13, 18, 18. So maybe he can luck into a block or steal and get up to 22, 23, and it'll open it up to get maybe a better guard or something like that. So interesting there. Muscala at 4K. Again, he's going to be a little bit popular because he plays his backup center minutes to Roby. Does has of 20 and 12. And again, Roby has shown that he can get into foul trouble. So if he got into foul trouble, we could see some more minutes out of Muscala. Guy to think about. And Paul Millsap. I'm never a Paul Millsap guy. Really hard to trust him. 4,700. 18, 33, 17, 21, 23 in his last 5. You know, he just doesn't play a lot of minutes. 20, 23, 21. He starts and then it just doesn't. So I would much rather play Roby or Jermichael Green than I would Millsap in this. So he would be, if I had him in my pool, it'd be really low and less than 10%. Let's just move on to center here. And the reason why I wanted to make sure I had some money left, 13-4 out in this lineup, is the Joker, man. I mean, the dude's unreal. He's been averaging a triple-double. Highest fantasy point per minute player on the slate by far. 11.5, putting up 1.61 fantasy points per minute for the season. Really high. Yes, Rudy Gobert's 8,500. Steven Adams is 5,800. And there's really nobody else I like down here at all. I wouldn't consider any of these guys. So this would be a consideration where I think we have enough value at the power forward position, and there's a few shots at small forward and shooting guard that we have the money for this, where I think this would be my third lock button. I think I would lock in Jokic. I would lock in Roby and Clarkson as my 3 guys that I would lock in and build around here. And then in those 150, it gives me enough rotations here for for point guard, my second shooting guard position, because there's a couple spend ups, there's a couple cheap guys. And then there's different ways to go at small forward. If Ingram doesn't get there, it allows me to play maybe Zion in some where I'm not playing Ingram, so I don't want to lock one of those guys in. And then again, I got 1,900 to play with here. I'm fine if I wanted to submit this lineup. I have no problem doing that. If these guys can get me 30 fantasy points, I have no problem doing that. But maybe here I want to go, okay, I don't want Dort. I'll throw Barton in here, and I'll leave 1,100 on the table. Or I'm like, okay, well, I don't really like Gary Harris. I want to try to get up to Donovan Mitchell. Can I get to Donovan Mitchell and get rid of Will Barton here? Yeah, 3,600. It allowed me to do that. But do I have a 3,600 guy at small forward that's playable? And there wasn't anyone here that I really wanted to play at all. So I don't think that's going to work. So if I wanted to play, maybe I wanted to go to SGA in this lineup with Clarkson, come down on point guard to punt one of these with like a Monte Morris. Or like I said, maybe I thought it blows out and I want to play Capazzo here. Throw him in. I got 5,200. I can slide in a Bogdanovich here or Josh Hart if I did punt. So it kind of leaves you different avenues to go. Or if I want to say, screw that, I'm going to play Ball's plan and Bledsoe's plan. I'm going to throw both of them in this lineup. And then I got 5,300 to go Dort, which I like this. So again, just to go back and circle back around like we first talked about this, don't be afraid to spend all your money. Don't try to spend all your money, because if you spend all your money, someone is going to have that lineup. 1,000% guaranteed someone's going to have, you are splitting the money with somebody. So the best way to get different is leave money on the table and I'm sure I'll get a ton of questions today. Is 2,000 too much? Is 3,000? I don't care, man. 2-game slate, there's no amount of money that's too much to leave on the table. Just try to get different. Try to get different. However, like I said, find 2 to 4 guys you want to lock those guys in, and build around it. And don't tilt if they don't hit. You're trying to put yourself in the best situation to win this. And to do that, you have to take stands on guys. And so for me, right, first look, this could change. This is, again, 9 hours before lock. It's Clarkson, it's Roby, and it's Jokic. Those are the 3 guys that I would look at building my whole teams around. And then I only have to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions right instead of trying to get 9. Now, if I found another guy I like and I wanted to go extremely heavy on him, then it's 1 less and I can just rotate 1 more guy in. But again, I don't want to force a guy to lock him if I don't feel really, really good about him. But those 3 guys I feel pretty good. And Clarkson is contingent on Ingles sitting. If Ingles played, I wouldn't lock Clarkson in. He's the one that I'm the most nervous about out of the 3. So if you wanted to even take him out, I feel better about Roby and Jokic here, just with what Jokic is doing. They have nobody. That Jokic could put up 50 in the first half against OKC and Roby. So with that, again, I appreciate you hanging out. If you got any questions, head on over to DFS Army. Use promo code CashCake. Save yourself 10%. We will be in there. Definitely will have cheat sheets up, player rankings on this. And again, don't forget to go over and check out my Twitch channel, Cash Keg. I'm going to go live around probably 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Answer some questions on this slate that you might have. And again, I'm going to focus most of the questions on FanDuel today. We had a lot of DFS Army members, again, take down some tickets as we preach over at DFS Army and try to teach our members that if you want to work on your ROI, it's contest selection, it's getting in those satellites to get tickets like this so you can take a chance at life-changing money or money to boost your bankroll so you can uptick how you play. So with that, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that subscribe button for me on your way out. Hit that like button, and I appreciate each and every one of you. This is Cash Keg. I'm out. Deuces.